I'm convinced that Marvel actually wants me to hate this character. Y'all, what up? Before we get started, man, you know YouTube is becoming increasingly more and more unpredictable in terms of the creators. So be sure to follow me over at my other forms of social media. EricDJuly.com is my website. Again, it's EricDJuly.com. You can get caught up on all of my podcast episodes. My podcast is called For Canon's Sake, and you can listen to that, of course, on all major digital platforms. You can also give me a follow over at Twitter, which is at EricDJuly. Now, today we are going to be discussing the recent issue of Captain Marvel, which is on issue 12. Now, believe it or not, I've read every issue. You know, I have a thing that I just cannot criticize something unless I actually consume the media. I'm not one of those guys that goes around just making YouTube videos to get mad, find things to get mad about, especially in the comic book realm. This is why I stick to my own, sort of thing. But when it comes to Captain Marvel, no secret, I've done multiple videos about how much I dislike the character and the direction that they've taken in a little over, or more so under, the last decade. I've never been the most fond of the character, but I can absolutely tolerate the character when she was Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers, that is. But for whatever reason, Marvel decided to take a different direction. Let's call it that, a different direction with the character, and they wanted to sort of boost her into prominence, and they used the Marvel Cinematic Universe as the biggest stepping stool in that regards by having her basically skip the line and get her own movie. I've done videos on that. You can go check my video when I break everything down about the unique, that's what the name of the video is, actually, the unique shoehorn of Captain Marvel. So y'all already know where I'm at with that and the direction that they've taken the character. Now, the thing that I guess I despise the most when it comes to the character is how they continue to act like Marvel just wasn't a thing. Even though they continue, even with the movie, they continue to grab things from Marvel in terms of what is being associated with the character. Now, you guys know that now Carol has sort of been retconned. You may not know, retconned being half Kree. She was not always the case. Certainly when Marvel was around, that was something that recently happened, that whole retcon and her being half Kree and her mother being Kree and so forth. So it's almost like they're trying to erase. It seems like it came from the top down and they were just like all the way in on trying to have this character be of prominence. Again, I've talked about how you have those X-Men type characters that are female characters, but they are associated with the X-Men. And it seems like Marvel does not really have those equivalents, the DC equivalent to the Wonder Womans and the Catwomans, and even some of the villains like, Harley Quinns and Poison Ivy and all of these different characters that they have that can really stand on their own. Though they're a part of these bigger teams, but they're so recognizable on their own and they can really stand on their own. They don't have that Wonder Woman equivalent. So they tried, instead of getting behind another character, they wanted to make Captain Marvel that character. But they crapped on Marvel in the process, and they continue to do that mainly because they are trying to just erase his existence, even though she's hijacked his name. And even though all she is, even to this day, is still just tokenized version of Marvel, just a female version of Marvel. They continue down this deal in which they're seemingly trying to make her more and more powerful. And I think they're doing that to try to get us to like it. But to me, it's having the opposite effect when you consider what it is that they're doing. And this run of Captain Marvel has been a disaster, but that's not surprising when you consider the other 113 reboots that she's had in the last 10 years. A lot of those have been absolute disasters as well. This started off a disaster, and they let you know, Kelly Thompson, who was the writer, let you know the direction that they wanted to go with the whole nuclear man, 7-foot misogynist, go in the portal, bunch of women, female fighters, one male fighter resistance sort of deal. The male fighter looks actually like what I envision a male feminist would be, but that's not in there. But they go obviously fight Nuclear Man and such. And even in that part of the storyline, that's like issue 1 through 5 of the deal. They made me angry, right, by trying to make it seem like Rogue is just so below her. Oh, Rogue, she took my powers back in the day, but she was just a kid. She's just a little old kid. She didn't know any better and all of this stuff. And they ended up actually fighting. But, of course, it was Nuclear Man that was in control of all of them, or Gizmo, whatever you want to call him, was in control of that, trying to get them to fight because, of course, this is what men do, telling characters like that, in which they have females fight to the death, and he takes the winner, and they have these super babies. Yeah, that's the storyline. That's what they came up with at the beginning of Captain Marvel. And then from about issue 5 to up until now, which issue 12 was just released, it's pretty much just filler. A new character by the name of Star is implemented, and it seems like she now has the Reality Stone as well. For those that don't know, that is sort of piggybacking off of what happened with not necessarily Wolverine and Infinity Watch, more what happened with Adam Warlock and Infinity War, Infinity, and all of that when Adam Warlock gave all the Infinity Gems a soul. So they're all like scattered around the world in the universe, and it seems like one has I guess that's the high point, if any, of this is that we know where one of the stones are now, and that it is with this character by the name of Star, who was a reporter and such that actually Carol Danvers was trying to save at the beginning, going by issue again 1 through 5, when she went in the portal. That's who Nuclear Man took to lure her into this world. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but what happened that makes this even more interesting, and by interesting, I mean makes me dislike the character even more, it's something that popped off in issue 12. We have Captain Marvel fighting with Thor. Thor is doing something outside of the Avengers headquarters. And then it looks like a possessed version of Carol Danvers, if you will, goes and fights Thor. So they're fighting all around the world. And the fact that she's just going toe to toe with Thor like this, she even goes as far as to be able to send his Mjolnir somewhere and he can't summon it back. It makes no sense, right? All it does is frustrates me in the terms of how they keep trying to make this character as powerful as they are. It's like her powers just increase by the year in terms of what she's capable of doing. She's going toe to toe with Thor, and anybody that's read a Marvel comic knows how strong this is. We're talking about the God of Thunder. He's very strong, and they're going toe to toe. She comes out on top, and again, we know that this isn't going to be the case. There has to be some sort of larger thing going on, and she basically, cut his head off and brought the head to this guy by the name of Vox Supreme. This is his first appearance. We don't know really why she's doing this, what happens, what this entails. Now, there's going to be, or at least I believe, that, okay, something happened, she was dreaming or something. But the fact that they even allow that stuff to play out like it's going to be believable is what frustrates me. But it also shows like Marvel is trying to get me to hate the character, because they're funneling a lot of the things that I hate with current Marvel, and that's the continuity errors that some of this stuff creates when these things happen. When you consider all what's taking place right now, I mean, Captain Marvel Absolute Carnage just came out, I believe, the same week that this issue dropped. So I thought actually that tied in, but that had nothing to do with anything. And then if you remember what happened with the Marvel Zombies Resurrection thing, Captain Marvel was actually part of that. She was the first zombie, if you will. So it's like, dude, what is going on with this character? What matters, right? Why these events? Why do we keep seeing these characters pop up in different books, not really understanding what's going on, even though they have this, was supposedly started off like it was going to be this major event. And again, that's one of my biggest gripes with Marvel, is that they have too many books being put out, and it's like the editors aren't even trying to keep these guys on the same page for guys that are regular readers, so they can be able to follow what's going on with the characters, because the characters are popping up in so many different instances and they all contradict. But obviously the most criminal thing that came out of this entire book is has to be the fact that we're seeing it play out like she's actually can beat up Thor. Not only beat him up, cut his head off, right? And that's just like, dude, stop it. Stop, just stop. Stop making it seem like this character is this strong. And they had to do all these retcons in order to make this stuff possible. Obviously using the movie to piggyback off of this idea and not even piggyback, more so to promote this nonsensical idea. And in the process, again, when you consider the storyline, and of course they keep trying to make it seem like Mar-Vell didn't actually exist, like he wasn't a thing. And if you didn't know any better, if you didn't read his comics, you wouldn't even know he exists. The fact that she's an actual copy of this man, you don't even understand that. You don't know that. You don't, if you like introduced to this book or these books like recently, right? And I know that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to have this next generation of comic book viewers not even know who this character is. Even they go as far as, if you read Marvel's official encyclopedia, I have the latest edition here, and I'm going to show you guys something. Hopefully we can get focused on this, but you see, they call him Captain Mar-Vell, right? They call him Captain Mar-Vell. They call her Captain Marvel. And obviously you can see the similarity. She's obviously a copy of him. And I'm sitting here like, why are they so hell bent on trying to erase his existence? And really the whole reason she exists is because of him. Like, right? That's the whole model, right? When she became Miss Marvel, what was that? In the late 70s, right? Late 70s, she became Miss Marvel. Even though she was introduced before then, but late 70s going into the early 80s, she became Miss Marvel, and she was just a copy of it. Looks a lot similar, same color scheme as she does now. But then going into the recent decade, they just retconned her. Oh, now she's half Kree, not getting her powers from a Kree device blowing up or something like that. Now she's just half Kree. But she does all of these things, and it's like, man, bro, why? Why are we doing this? Why are we trying to erase his existence? And I'm of the opinion that they want me to hate the character. I'm of the opinion that they want me to hate the character, period. Like, why are you giving me a book in which she goes not only toe-to-toe with not Captain Marvel, Thor, excuse me, but bests him? Get out of my face.